So, Alex, you ended up seeing another movie. I think we mentioned it last week. Tomb Raider.
Yes, sir.
Roar Uthog's Tomb Raider. Yeah, I guess, how did you end up feeling about that film overall?
It was okay, but I would say between okay and pretty good.
Okay.
I would say that if people are expecting this to be the movie to forever change the face of video game movies and break the supposed video game curse, this, it does, but it doesn't really.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because I can name 3 video game movies I like better.
Yeah.
But that's because they're terrible movies that are just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And this definitely, the parts that are bad, they just suck. They're not like a laughable bad.
Okay.
But the parts that are good are actually pretty well done. Overall, I would say standouts are the acting is pretty solid for the most part, especially out of Alicia Vikander as Laura and Walt Goggins as the bad guy. His name's Vogel or something. Action scenes, for the most part, are all done pretty well. I'd say a lot of the problems probably lie in the script and maybe some of the directing. And there's a couple of times where pacing lags just a little bit, but overall, I would say it's fine.
Okay. Yeah, I got a couple questions for you. Speaking of Into the Badlands, how was Daniel Wu in this?
Oh, horribly underutilized.
Really?
Barely in it, and when he does fight people, it's mostly gun fu kind of pistol whipping.
Ah, okay.
You don't see a lot of his martial arts skills.
That sucks.
I mean, there's one scene towards the beginning where Laura's being chased around by some ruffians on the docks in Hong Kong.
Okay.
And he does a little bit there, but overall he's fine in it. It's just he's not utilized a lot, and he's not really in it that much.
That's sad. How were the puzzles? I'd imagine there were some.
The puzzles were pretty good. I like the puzzles.
Really?
They were... I mean, they're fine. Like, puzzles are... It's hard to do those wrong in movies.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to have some cool things, some cool set pieces, some sort of involvement of ancient deities and keys and locks and all that kind of crazy crap. And this did it. I mean, again, it's fine. It's just like everything else.
Yeah, that was another question I had you touched on. So I'm imagining there's a supernatural element in this.
How do I say it? Well,
I mean, it's a, most treasure hunter movies have it. Maybe not without spoiling it. Does it make the movie, break the movie? Is it fine? Is it bad?
Okay, the supernatural element, without saying too much about it specifically, it's sort of used as a twist at the end. So, without saying too much, it doesn't really make or break the movie, because at that point, you were either kind of on board or not.
Okay.
It's not something that's going to make or break your enjoyment. However, I do think it was handled semi-poorly.
Yeah.
But apparently, if you've played the game, it's similar to that. I've watched some Let's Play videos of the new games, and they all look awesome.
Yeah.
But I have not watched them extensively to know the ending.
Okay. Nick Frost cameo, is it still in the film?
He's the dude from all the
Edgar Wright
things.
Yeah. He's still in it?
Yeah, he's great. I liked his part. It's small. It's just a couple tiny scenes, but when he is on screen, he's fine. And again, just like with Daniel Wu's character, I kind of wish there was more of him.
Yeah.
Not that there needed to be a ton of him, but his character, just in the small instances he was there, just felt like a well-developed character.
Okay. So this is kind of specific, but so in the trailer you have that scene where he's Nick Frost is like selling her firearms or whatever, and she's like, "I'll take 2," and it's like really campy.
Oh, that line is terrible, and it doesn't work with the rest of the movie.
Okay, I was gonna say, is it in tune with the rest of the movie? Is the
No.
movie pretty campy, or is it just like out of nowhere, like this is
Not
dumb?
at all.
Okay, good.
The one thing that I would say maybe people weren't expecting as much as Laura's character is like sort of a bit of a smartass at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So she's not just the generic stoic video game character.
Okay.
So she's a tiny bit quirky, not in the Eagle versus Shark or whatever the hell that movie is quirky, or Wes Anderson quirky, but she's a little more.
She's a personality.
Yeah, she has more personality. She's a little more 3-dimensional.
Okay.
But when she says that, it almost feels like, let's pander to the people who liked the first two.
Yeah, that's what that felt like to me too. And
And
then
without saying too much, you know what? Fuck it. Minor spoiler.
okay,
Do you care if I mention this?
not really.
It's right at the end. It's like the
Okay.
it's the post credit scene.
See, you know what? It felt like it to me. Like it felt like an Easter egg. You know, like something you'd put in a post credit scene, or like the scene right before like that scene,
Yeah.
like that line would be like, "I'll take two, cut to, directed by Roar Uthog," like that bullshit.
Yeah, and the funny thing about that too was, you know how my rule is, I only start tacking off points or taking points off if you go over 5 stupid lines.
Okay.
The rest of the script, for the most part, the problems I had, again, it wasn't the dialogue was ever like cheesy or awful or like whatever.
It's pretty plain.
I would say it was pretty plain, so there wasn't a lot of laughably bad, but that was kind of like, it wasn't even laughably bad, it was just cringy. It was just, why?
So my final question is, do we get any good tomb death scenes, like Indiana Jones-esque, like dudes getting hit by like flying spikes and
Oh, hell
bowling
yeah.
boulders and shit?
Oh, most definitely.
Okay, good. I like me those.
There's a good chunk of that. And as you could imagine, the movie, it sort of takes place a decent bit, starts off, she's in England or whatever, and she doesn't want to take her father's inheritance because she's too proud or whatever.
Right.
And then there's another chunk, which is getting there to the island, and then the final chunk, as you could imagine, is in the tombs.
Right.
The problem, I think, is they spent a little too much time with the setup in England and at the part with the island,
Okay.
because once they're on the island, it does take a little while for the action to start,
Okay.
and then the tomb stuff is all pretty good.
That's good.
But it's just, I feel like the problem was, how do I put this? The amount of time spent in each chapter, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
It varied, and there's times where there wasn't enough of something, and there's times when there's too much of other things.
Okay. So it sounds like it's a enjoyable, if imbalanced and kind of uneven movie.
So that was the thing, is my initial impression upon leaving the theater, I couldn't help but think this. I thought, if they'd chosen a better director, this probably would have been a better movie.
Yeah.
Because the script, again, was not terrible, but definitely this guy, Roar Uthog, who's directed nothing of note that I've heard of, at least.
Yeah. I think he directed a movie called The Wave. It's like a
Yeah.
disaster film or something.
And to his credit, this is completely competent and watchable.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't think that if these studios making video game movies, if they really want to get people on board, they should choose someone with some sort of record, whether it be on TV or previous movies.
Yeah, that definitely seems to be the name of the game, and that's all it takes, really. I mean, we saw that with comic book movies. Is it just takes a director like a Nolan or a Favreau to come along who actually gives a shit about the material to really transfer that to the general audience, not just the comic fans or, in this case, the video gamers. But yeah, I'm glad it's not terrible. Like that was
No,
something
not
that I
at
was
all.
really worried about. I was really worried it was going to be like unwatchably boring or just bad.
No, definitely not. And that, as I mentioned before, the action scenes are all pretty good.
That's good.
I especially liked the bow and arrow stuff.
Nice.
All the archery stuff is cool, and I would say they did a good job of using the location for
Okay.
the action to make sense.
So where does it take place? Like the tropics or like some kind of like...
It's off. Well, I mean, it was filmed, I think, somewhere. I can't remember where. Somewhere in Southeast Asia, I think.
Okay.
Actually, I might be wrong. I might be completely wrong. It might have been Hawaii for all I know. But anyway, it takes place in a Japanese island.
Oh, okay. Wow, I didn't know that. I thought it was like Caribbean or like some
No.
kind of maybe like South Pacific.
And actually, now that I think about it, the final part in the tomb, they tie that into the Japanese island and the supernatural element. They did a cool job of tying it all together. It's just a matter of the payoff maybe wasn't the best of options.
Okay.
But again, I think that came from, or at least I think I read somewhere that came directly from the game.
Yeah, I haven't played the recent games, but I know people who have, and they've
Yeah.
said it's pretty close.
But again, the stunt work was pretty good, I thought.
Yeah.
A lot of it looked for the most part, it looked like they did a lot of practical stunt work.
That's good.
And also, the fight choreography was pretty good.
Okay.
So they used things like a plane fuselage or a waterfall, or the fact that she's fighting near a beach shore, rocky cliffs, or whatever. They used the space well and incorporate it into the action.
Nice.
But I have to say, as much as I did like the fight choreography, there's one fight scene that is just fucking awful.
Oh, yeah?
It's the beginning when she's training MMA.
Mm-hmm.
And, okay, so a rear naked choke is a move in jiu-jitsu, and everyone's seen it. If you were to Google a picture, everyone would know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a complicated move, but to get it in a standing position while you're squaring up with someone when you start kickboxing is so goddamn hard. And if you try and Google UFC standing rear naked choke, the only time you will find it is if they start it on the ground first, and the guy starts getting up but doesn't get rid of the choke.
Okay.
But it literally looked like pro wrestling. In pro wrestling, they just turn each other, like, huh!
Yeah.
They just move their hands, and then it's like, oh, I just let you turn me around 180 degrees.
Yeah.
It was like that, but they start off kickboxing. And I don't mean to be one of those people who, like, points out the little things, but that just annoyed the holy hell out of me.
Mm.
And then Laura gets her in a old-timey headlock. I'm just like, all the girl behind you has to do is lock her hands around you, bear hug you, and then pop you up and throw you down.
Mm.
It was just very awkward, and it's just like, God damn it, come on, guys. Like,
Well.
I'm not an expert on this, but like, at all.
Mm-hmm.
But like, even I know that that's complete bullshit. Even for a heightened movie, it just doesn't make physical sense.
Yeah.
Because the idea is you can exaggerate things that are possible. That's like how good exaggeration works.
Right.
Not, let's just defy logic entirely.
Well, that sucks that they got that wrong.
Oh, I mean, it's not a big deal. It's just one of those things that made me groan and just annoyed me.
Mm.
But overall, that's the thing that I thought was so weird, though. The rest of the fight scenes were great.
Mm-hmm.
There's a particular one where it's her and this guy near a couple puddles.
Mm-hmm.
Very good, and it's sort of a turning point in the movie without saying too much.
Nice.
But that was done very well, and it felt relatively realistic, as did many of the other action scenes.
That's good. I'm glad.
Well, except for the big jumps off the fuselage. But
yeah.
But that was a cool action movie moment.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm glad that overall it wasn't a horrendous watch.
No, not at all.
And it sounds like it was far from that.
I would give it about a 3 out of 5.
That's good.
Which for a video game movie is like
pretty healthy.
A 6 out of 5.
Yeah, right. But yeah, that's good.
Yeah, you know what? I'll say this. It was one of the first video game movies I've seen in a long time that I enjoyed, not in a so bad it's good way.
That's good.
Because as much as I love Mortal Kombat 1 and 2, and Street Fighter, and Mario Brothers, and even Double Dragon to some extent, I would say I like those movies better than Tomb Raider, but for all the wrong reasons.
Mm.
But if I were to say which is a more quality movie that I think the average moviegoer would like better, probably Tomb Raider.
Mm.
And I would say from this point on, I'm pretty hopeful about sequels.
Really?
I would say there's room for improvement, but it's not a lost cause at all. Which is saying a lot for the average video game movie, so there's hope for the future yet.
Well, even though I didn't see it, good job, Rory Ruthog. You made a decent flick.